Big welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Keith Russell, welcome to the Danger Zone finale. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great. Thanks very much for having me on, lads. It's a pleasure.
No problem whatsoever. We can't wait to get to chew the fat with you for the next hour or so. Sometimes we say an hour and it ends up being 20 minutes. No, that never happens, does it, John? No. It's the other way normally. So, no, thanks very much, Keith. We always start our episodes by finding out a little bit more about our guests. So, our first question is, who is Keith Russell? Our listeners need to know.
Jeez, where do you start?
Where indeed?
Who is Keith Russell? Well, what people know me as is an ultra runner. I went through, I suppose I went up in ultra running fairly quick. I started ultra running in 2019. But look, previous to that, I started running in 2016. And previous to that, I would have done bits and pieces. I would have played football a lot growing up and hurling, Gaelic football, that sort of thing. But I suppose, I think as you get older, life experiences change the person that you are. And now I would be, I suppose, very disciplined and very dedicated to what I do. And I enjoy what I do, I suppose, would be probably a want of a better word. That I enjoy life now, even with all the life experiences that I've had to date.
Okay, well, I've got a quick question because it's maybe the same one as John, but you mentioned the magic word football there. And
yes.
We always need to find out what team it is you follow, just so that we can place you on our good guy, bad guy list.
Are we on a Celtic and Rangers question, or are we just football in general? Soccer?
Yes,
obviously
soccer.
Obviously you don't support Gaelic football.
I'm a Kerry man myself.
Ah, yeah. My mother's a Kerry woman. Yeah.
It's the shinty the shinty that we like.
Yes, very similar to hurling. Yeah, very good. I support Chelsea.
Oh, that's a new one.
Yeah, I support Chelsea. I have done for many years. I've sort of dropped off watching soccer now because it's just gone so bad. It's gone so hard to watch. Gaelic football's going the same way. It's gone very, very hard to watch. Whereas hurling is an incredible game to watch.
Let's talk about good Chelsea then. Who's your favourite ever Chelsea player?
Well, I suppose it would have to be Frank Lampard, wouldn't it? Frank Lampard was an incredible player for Chelsea through the years. And Jose Mourinho, one of the best managers ever.
Yeah. What position did you play? Did you model yourself on Frank Lampard?
Not really, no. I played right side of midfield, or I played up front. I had probably a bit more pace. Do you know what I mean? When I was younger, but I would have played right side of midfield, or I would have played up front.
Okay.
Now I'm not tall enough to be playing as a lone striker.
Well, thank you for furnishing us with that information. We are a running podcast, honestly, listeners, but John and I like our footy, so we just needed to clarify that.
People are used, if somebody mentions the word football, and that was one of the sports that they participated in as a youngster, people know there's going to be a wee 2 or 3 minute interlude while we dig in, because football's a big passion of both Stephen and I. So it's good to find out. And Chelsea's the first, I think, Stephen. Keith's the first person to mention Chelsea.
Yep, episode 220, Keith.
Yeah.
There's your sample audience.
Damien Hall, he went down the Arsenal route, but we're not going to go into that tonight because that's
right. Yeah.
I'm going to haul us back on script as well. Otherwise, we'll hear an hour speaking about football. We can leave that for the behind the paywall content. The main reason we've got you here is speak about your running journey, Keith. Now, you said that you took up running in 2016, got into the ultras in 2019. Can you tell us what got you out pounding the pavements, the trails, etc. in the first place, and then take it from there?
Yeah, so I adore Alana. So she had spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. And I started running with her in 2016, solely to run Dublin City Marathon in 2017 to raise money. Because we would have had to raise money to make our house wheelchair accessible for Alana. So we end up raising €110,000 to do that, to do the house up. So just to give back to someone else or another organisation, we set the task of raising money to supply a wheelchair accessible bus for a respite care home that Alana attended. So we done that through 2016 to 2017. I spent training with Alana, and prior to this, I would have been smoking and drinking. And once I said, right, from 2016, I said, I'm putting everything I've got into doing this. Stop smoking, give up drinking for the whole year, and just trained with Alana. Like I trained in the gym on my own, done speed sessions, tempo sessions, and then I'd take Alana out in a running chair at the weekend. So Alana would have been, she couldn't walk, she couldn't talk, she'd no use of her arms and legs or anything like that. She was peg fed as well. But she was great, you know. Put her on a feed in the mornings before we went running, and we'd go off down to Phoenix Park, which is in Dublin, and we could do 10, 15, 20 kilometers around there. Just built right up to Dublin City Marathon. And just after Dublin City Marathon, 6 weeks after, Alana passed away suddenly at home. So from then on, like, running was a massive savior to me, because it was a place where I went out to process everything that was going on within myself, my head, body, everything, you know. I could go out and run for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time, just purely just to get away from everything. And I think then I just wanted to get in and push myself even further. Like, you know, as I said, I gave up smoking, and I says, right, it took me, say, a year to do this, and what can I do if I push myself even harder, you know? So I set my sights then on doing, say, Dublin to Belfast in 2019. So that was my first ultra marathon. So that was 172 kilometers, and it was a case of just get in and train for that. And I had no coach at the time. I pretty much trained myself, and it was a matter of just building mileage. Saturday, Sunday, just keep building the mileage, running on tired legs. And I done that in 18 hours and 20 minutes. So that was my first taste of running an ultra marathon.
Wow.
Thank you very much for that. We're going to ask you about Alana, but you brought that in, Keith, so thank you for that. And I believe that mile 8 in the Dublin City Marathon is quite a special thing, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. So on the lead up to the marathon, you know, we gained a lot of exposure through fundraising. Like, we raised, I think in the end we raised about 70 to 80,000 euro. And Alana sort of caught everybody's eye. You know, she had this amazing smile, and people always wanted to come up to talk to her, to say hello. And she loved the attention too, like, you know, doesn't everybody? But she loved it. And look, we ran Dublin City Marathon once, but it just goes to show the magnitude that, and the hearts of people that she touched. Her number was retired from Dublin City Marathon in 2018, where I went to run it myself, just to represent her too. We were awarded with the Lord Mayor's Medal as well in 2018, which is given to someone that's running Dublin City Marathon for a special cause or a special reason. And they just, within the running community, they nominated Mile 8, because she was known as Forever, because she just turned 8 years of age. So she's known as Forever 8, and they represent Mile 8 and Dublin City Marathon for her. So just before the marathon starts, we'd go down on the way into Dublin. We'll put a picture of Alana at Mile 8, and people salute as they go by, you know, which is absolutely incredible. Like.
Brilliant. What a lovely legacy that is.
Yeah.
It must make you very proud. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
what a lovely
absolutely.
gesture from the marathon as well. That
Yeah,
that's
100%.
special. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that time that you ran that with Alana in 2017 must be a real special memory for you as well, Keith.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I walk around Dublin, and you drive parts of the Dublin City Marathon route, and you know, you look at all these amazing memories that we created together, and it brings back so many good memories for me. Like when Alana died, I had so many bad memories of that. You know what I mean? From the morning that it happened and right through the next week. Do you know what I mean? But you know, you try to let all that stuff go because your body will only drip feed you so much pain and sorrow. Like, but I think once you sort of get to see all that, and it's like, right, I can't keep living like this. You know, like it went for about 4 or 5 months of in complete despair. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like you can't keep living like this. Like I'd go out walking at all hours of the morning, end up out in the graveyard, just sitting there 3, 4 in the morning. You know, when you're going to bed at night, just hoping you don't wake up the next day because it's so hard. You know what I mean? So I says, right, I have to change the way I'm living. So you start to think, right, all these good memories we created on the lead up to Dublin, and you know, all the people we met and the support we got, and you know, you start to change your whole perspective on everything that has happened. And I think that's what has me where I am today. Like is keeping all them good memories, keep them coming forward, keep pushing hard. And you know, I always said to Alana, look, no matter what happens, I'll always get her to the finish line. And I think that within the backyard ultra, that's a massive test of getting to the finish line every time. But you know, I know once I'm out there and I'm pushing hard, I know she's with me the whole time.
Quite a driving force to have on your side.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did running help you then? You mentioned about that 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
How did running help you then process and move on a wee bit to where you are now?
I think like as I don't know, as a parent, I suppose you feel like you have to be strong for the other kids as well. You know, I had an older son and I have a younger son. And I think for them, you feel like you have to be strong. You can't, you know, let your emotions run away with you. And, you know, especially my youngest son, like he was about 4 years of age when Alana died. And he'd always, you know, kids, they'd always come out with something and it just hit you and, you know, would take your breath away. Like, you know what I mean? With the questions he'd be asking. And I think going out running on my own allowed me to, I suppose, let out the emotion that I was holding in. So I'd be angry, I'd be sad. You know, I go through so many different emotions within a run. And then I just get the head into running then. You know what I mean? You sort of look first 10, 15K, you let it all out. And then you start to settle into, right, you know, the good memories that we created. And this is what I tried to work on within these runs. And even now, I still try to work on all that of like, you know, building that mental strength of like, this is what we've created. And I always put down to how I am now and what I'm doing now within ultra running down to having Alana. Because to be honest with you, if I didn't have her and she wasn't the way she was, I would not be doing what I'm doing.
It's that you mentioned in the introduction about life experiences.
Yeah.
And that builds who we are.
Yeah.
Now, you also mentioned that for the Dublin to Belfast, or maybe it was the other way around, I can't quite remember.
Dublin to Belfast, yeah.
Dublin to Belfast, 18 hours, 20 minutes, that's not a bad return. And you said you did that without a coach.
Yeah.
Do you have a coach now?
I do. I have a coach now, yeah. Same coach as Karen.
Karen, who's Karen? Who's that you're talking about? As if people don't know. Karen Nichol we're speaking about, yeah?
That's right, yeah. Absolutely.
So Karen's coach is Marcus, is that correct?
He is indeed, yes. So I would have got involved with Marcus in, I think it was late 2019. I wanted to actually do, so after doing Dublin to Belfast was March 2019, I wanted to do Marathon des Sables. which is 250 kilometers across the Sahara Desert. So this is where my mindset was now. I was going to keep pushing the boundaries as much as I could until I find a breaking point, you know. So I got in contact with Marcus and I said to him, look, this is what I want to do. And I says, I want to run a sub-3 marathon. And he says, I tell you what, he says, come back to me when you run a sub-3 marathon. So I was nearly cursing him then going, who the fuck's he think he is? Like, do you know what I mean? So, but me being very competitive was like, do you know what? I'll show him. So I went to Cork City Marathon in the June of that year. And I ran a 2:59 marathon.
Wow.
And I literally finished. I took out my phone and I texted him. I go, there's your sub-3 marathon.
And he'll be going to himself, my job is done for just now.
Yeah, he was going, oh fuck, what have I let myself in for? And I think 5 years on, he's still asking the same question.
And just for the benefit of our listeners, it's Marcus Smith, is that correct?
Marcus Smith, yeah. So Marcus lives in Dubai.
Yeah.
So we coach online, but we like obviously communicate through WhatsApp messages, and we do chat on the phone and things like that. He's an endurance athlete himself. Obviously same as everybody else, hit some hard times. But you know, he's an incredible mindset, and I think he instills that within the people he coaches as well. And I would have first met Karen in, I think it was Castle Ward is when I first met her. When we were doing a backyard ultra, and I don't know, I think she got in contact with Marcus then after that because she wanted to push. I think she wanted to push for the women's record, the UK women's record at the time. And obviously her goals have changed since then. She's actually on the UK team for the World Satellite Championships now. One of two women that have made the team, which is absolutely fantastic. Like, I'm absolutely delighted for her.
And well, you mentioned backyard ultras.
Yeah.
When did backyard ultras first come on to Keith's radar?
I tell you, it was actually by sheer chance, to be honest, because with COVID and things like that, Marathon des Sables was cancelled. I had a full training block for Marathon des Sables done, and it was literally a month away from the race. And I came down after one of my last training sessions, came down to an email saying that it had been cancelled because of COVID. So without wasting the training that I had done, you know, you start looking at, right, what can I do to use the training that I've done, like, you know. So I think it was 2021 is when I've done my first backyard ultra, which was Florida Manor. Now I could be wrong. Was it 20? Yeah, I think it was 2021. Yeah, when I done my first backyard ultra. And
was that the same year that the Marathon des Sables that you trained for was cancelled?
No, Marathon des Sables I think was meant to be in 2020.
Right. Okay.
I think it was April of 2020, and then nothing really went ahead.
Yeah.
So I think it was everything was cut. I ended up actually trying to run the perimeter of my county, which is 360 kilometers or something. So I went out. I left my house after work one Friday evening, and I went running around the border of my county. And I got to 230 kilometers, and I can't remember coming across one of the country roads. I was falling asleep, and I was heading out another road, but it was notorious for trucks. And one of my friends was ringing me going, please stop, because if I had went out on the road there, I could have just been peeled by a truck. Like, so I pulled the plug, and it grind on me, like, do you know what I mean, that I stopped. But at the end of the day, I will. It's still in the back of my mind. I'll do it one of these days.
What county is that out in Keith?
It's County Meath.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had it mapped out ages, and I was always sitting there in the background going, I'll do this one day. And that day just sort of came on a Friday evening after work. I just packed up a bag and I went fully self-sufficient, like. So
well, John and I have said this a number of times around about we obviously had a lot to deal with, both individually and stuff during COVID, and there was a lot of negatives, obviously. But then what got born out of it was things like doing these challenges that you would never have really been doing if it wasn't for the global pandemic, because you would have been over and doing the Marathon des Sables, and
Absolutely.
probably, and then your route could have been completely different after that, but because of COVID, it somehow brought you together with Backyard Ultra. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. Yeah, because with that, I just signed up then for the Backyard Ultra in Florida Manor, and not a whole pile about it. Just looking it up and going, right, this is the format. Other than that, I didn't really know a whole pile what Backyard Ultra was at the time. And I went and done it. I had my brother and one of my friends crewing for me. And like my first one, I done 63 hours and broke the Irish national record by, 15 or 16 hours.
That was your first bash at it. You got to 63 laps.
Yeah.
And was that because the other person dropped out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I won that. Yeah. So there was 4 of us at 59 hours. Okay. And then it just went boom, boom, boom. And everybody just started to, how quick it can drop off. Like.
And you're doing that, sorry, a wee bit disbelief here, wet behind the lugs, as such, as we say. Do you know that term, wet behind the ears?
Yeah.
Wet behind the lugs, we say.
Absolutely.
Where you've not really got, you're going in with your, sounds like, I don't know. Well, go and suss it out.
Well, I would, like, previous to that, like, obviously I done Dublin to Belfast, and I actually done a 24-hour race as well, which is 1 mile loops for 24 hours. But other than that, that would have been it. Like, do you know what I mean? Backyard, it was a case of just go, see how I got on. And probably, I suppose, majority of it was asking myself, what's it going to take for me to stop? What's it going to take for me to drop out? What's it going to take for me to just go, no, I've enough? And within that race, I didn't find that point. Like, don't get me wrong, there was a few dodgy moments now, but other than that, it was good. Like.
Let's speak about that. We should also say as well, Stephen, that this podcast came out of the pandemic.
It did.
Without the pandemic, this wouldn't be happening. So.
Well, Keith wouldn't maybe not be doing Backyard Ultras. We wouldn't be doing this podcast. The whole world would have.
The world would be different
direction.
That's it, isn't it? Like when you look back of what you're doing now, only for the pandemic, like it is incredible. Like of what people have taken up and what people have put themselves through.
Yeah, definitely. But we're now into the Backyard Ultra thing. Let's talk about that, because as Stephen said, wet behind the lugs going into this, because the stuff you've done before, you're not stopping when you're doing Dublin to Belfast, when you're doing your 24-hour stuff. But this thing about stopping and then starting again on the hour, you're out there for, what did you say, 63 hours? 63 laps? Yards.
63,
How did it go? Because I'm looking at the site here that's saying there was 111 people in that event at Florida Manor, right? And they start dropping off. There's a few people drop off at 50, a few in the 60s. Then you're at the 100 kilometres. But what's going through your mind as you're going through this? Because it's the first time you're doing this seriously. How were you feeling?
Well, I'd taken a week off work, so where else do I want to be? And I'll be honest, that's the mindset I went in with, and that's the mindset I go into most of the races with now. Is like I take a week off work. It's like I've trained so hard to be here, so I'm going to be here. And where else would I want to be? Only be here.
Any place in the world you'd rather be.
Yeah.
How do you prepare up there? You can be fit. You can be physically fit.
Yeah.
And I want to. Okay. There's too many questions in my head. I want to go to that bit about tactics and things later on, but what can you do before an event to get your head right? What can you do before that? Or does Marcus help with that as well?
Yeah, he would do. Yeah. So a lot of it does come down to training, but not just training in your conventional way. You know what I mean? you know, you can train yourself physically as much as you want. You can, it's not going to get you to where you want to be. It's having a very, very strong mindset is what's going to get you there. And I think I always thought, or I always assumed I had a strong mindset. You know, as I said, like I had to deal with, I was like, my daughter Lana was a twin, so her sister passed away. She was stillborn, and then Alana passed away. So within my life in such a short space of time, I had to deal with the death of two kids. Do you know what I mean? And I think, like, as a parent, you know, if you can sort of deal with something like that on a daily basis, and it is a daily basis, you know what I mean? That you have to deal with things like that. I think you're going to build a resilient mindset anyway. You're going to build a lot of resilience. And I think it's about bringing that into what I do now. And it's still building on that, you know, and like I train a lot on my own, for obvious reasons, like, but I think there's something so satisfying about it too. So I go out at night, same as Kaz, like, you know, you go out at night on simulation runs. I train up, it's at the Hill of Tara, which is an iconic place within Meath as well. And it's 3.4K loops. So I do 2 loops in 50 minutes or 45 minutes. And then I'll rest for an hour. I could do that for 8 hours. I go home for 2 hours and go back out there for another 6 hours. You know, my brother could come out to me. He'll come out to me in all hours in the morning with a cup of tea and sandwich, and he'd just be questioning me, like, you know, he's like, Keith, what are you doing? You know, and I'm like, you know, this is what I have to do to be the best that I can be. You know, I don't get to where I am by doing things that I'm not going to say normal people do, but that people do that are not at the level that I get to. Do you understand what I'm saying? Without disregarding what other people do. But I feel that if I want to be at the top of this game, these are the things that I need to do. And I will do whatever it takes in a training manner to get to that point, to build the strong mindset that I can build.
I'm nodding when you're saying you understand what I mean. I'm nodding. I understand, but the drive, the personal drive to do that, I'm not sure I personally have that. But that's what sets you apart, though. Can you tell me, what's your brother's name?
Lee.
Lee. Is Lee a runner? Is Lee a runner?
No.
Okay.
But he would have been for years. When we were younger, say within Gaelic football, he was always so dedicated. Do you know what I mean? He was always the top of the pack at training. He should have played for Meath, but he was never chosen, and that's true. You know, politics and things like that. He was always super fit. You know what I mean? Now he does cycling now. He won't be as fit as he was, but he sees me push, like, so we basically done role reversal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm completely dedicated, fit. Do you know what I mean? But I was never dedicated. I was never asked and doing anything when we were growing up. Do you know what I mean? So like we flipped roles. So he can understand. I suppose he knows the dedication that it takes for me to be where I am. That makes sense.
See, when you are in your peak weeks of training for an event coming up, a backyard ultra coming up, what does that average week look like, Keith? It's no average, is it? By the way, that's the wrong word. But you know what I mean? What does that week look like?
You know,
roughly.
You try to forget it because you know it's going to come around again for the next race.
yeah.
So you get PTSD.
I hear you.
Yeah, like, it's a lot of mileage, you know, and do you know when they say you have to realize when you're at fatigue and when you're at breaking point? Marcus would always say, you know, within training, we bring you to the edge, we don't push you over. And I think that's where you get to within the peak session of these training sessions. You go to the edge because there's points where, you know, you're running through the night. You could start at 8 o'clock in the evening and you might go home at 6 in the morning. And then you get into bed for an hour and literally the alarm goes off to get up to go and do it again. And you're lying in the bed going, what am I fucking doing here? Do you know what I mean? But if I can do it here, I can do it in a race when there's other people around. Do you know what I mean? So it's having I suppose, the discipline to do it myself. But again, having the coach and having the accountability. Do you know what I mean? That I know he's looking at my training peaks. And if I like one of the very first sessions I've stopped on when I started with Marcus, training for Martin Sabel, and I never forget it. And I've never stopped on a training session since. We done this thing. It was called the oven. So obviously Sahara Desert, it's going to be 50 degrees. So we had a treadmill in a room, and I had a heater on the wall, and got the room up to like 42, 43 degrees. And I was running on the treadmill for 5 hours with a backpack on, 6 kilo backpack on, and I was absolutely hanging. But done that on the Friday, then the Saturday had to do the same thing again for 4 hours. And I stopped 2 hours in. I pulled the plug, and I literally lay under a cold shower, completely fucked. Like, do you know what I mean? And I texted him. I just said I stopped, and he was like, "Why?" I was like, "Just got tired." And he just goes, "Oh, I remember it." Like, he just goes, "I suggest you get on and finish it." I cursed him. I was like, "Going fucking prick! Like, what's he fucking?" But I end up putting back on all my gear, getting back on the treadmill, and doing 2 hours. You know, and I thought to myself, you know, that's the mindset that I have to build if I want to succeed in what I'm doing. And I've never stopped on a training session since.
Go and say what Marcus said again. You just froze a wee bit when you said it was just that perfect timing for a freezing thing. What did Marcus say to you when you said I've stopped?
So I said I've stopped, and he asked me why, and I said because I'm tired, and he just said I suggest you get back on and finish it.
Ah, thank you very much. Okay.
So if it was down to an injury, or if it was down to something else, that's fine. If it was down to because I was tired and I didn't want to finish it, it was like
when Marcus said, "I suggest you get back on and finish it," you maybe never said the word. You maybe never said the words, but what was inside your head?
Oh, I absolutely cursed him out of it.
Yeah.
Do you know? I think because you're expecting, like, you know, an arm around the shoulder and go, "It's all right, don't worry about it."
Yeah.
But you know, as we'd always say, it's like you build that mindset to you go through them barriers. Do you know what I mean? Of right, you're fatigued, you're tired. You know, you scan your body. Is there anything sore? You're injured. You know, like I done a race there a few years ago. It was called the Seven Sisters. It's up in Donegal. It's they say it's 7 peaks, but it's actually 13 peaks because it's 6 peaks over, 7 peaks back. And it's 55k with 4,000 meters ascent. And I fucking lay in puddles of water. It was so warm that day. I lay in streams. I was trying to get fluids in. I was sitting at the bottom like a mountain, looking up, going, "How am I going to get up here?" And I was scanning my body, just going, "Can I just pull out of the race?" I was praying for the race to be over, and I could not find anything strong enough for me to pull out of the race. And I just kept thinking, right, this evening, when I'm sitting there having dinner this evening, I'll be so happy that I did not pull out of it. It took me just over 9 hours, but like as I thought to myself within the race, I was so happy that I did not pull out of it. You know what I mean? So again, that's building all that mental strength of like, doesn't matter how hard things get, it will end at some stage. Do you know what I mean?
See, on that, now there'll be people listening who have DNF'd, and they'll now be thinking about their DNFs. I'm thinking about a DNF, you know, on my own, and you know, thinking, fuck, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
However, it's amazing how you can convince your brain that something is hurting to give it an out. Does that make sense? It's like, oh, that
absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
You know, is that also something that you almost need to build up, that's just my body trying to find an excuse for me to pull the pin?
I think you have to realize the difference between something that's going to be long-term injury or something that's in that moment in time, it's sore. Do you know what I mean? And some people will take that out, and will still say, like, I've seen it before with people 2 and 3 weeks later, oh, this is still at me because it, and you know they opted out because it just got tough, or they went out too fast. Do you know what I mean? Other ones are genuine reasons, and then there's ones that just, I just, don't get me wrong, I would have loved to find an out of that race, but like I couldn't find one, and I suppose that mindset has stood to me for doing backyard ultra.
It seems, honed for it, which when you hear 63-yard debut suggests.
But like I have 2 DNFs on my record. One is Germany in 2022 of a backyard ultra where I finished second in the world, and one is in Tennessee last year when I think I finished in the top 20 of the world.
You class
That's the
DNFs.
2 DNFs I have on my record. Yeah.
Okay.
Despite how many yards did you do in Germany?
89.
89 yards. And how many did you do in Tennessee?
74.
Okay.
Okay. What's your big learnings from the 2 DNFs?
It's funny because the one in Germany, so there was myself and a Belgian fella, Marion Gertz. So the world record at the time was 85 hours. And we broke that. 89th hour is feeling good. Now, obviously you're hallucinating and things like that. And I was saying it to the people that were there helping me, were crewing for me. I don't remember this now, but they said to me that I was saying, like, if I get lost up the mountain, don't come looking for me. So something was obviously playing on my mind. And I think on the 90th hour, we went out, I went down through the valley, back up, and I think I had a moment of weakness and I turned back. And I've been kicking myself about that ever since. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, I suppose at that point in time, I was second in the world and I still wasn't happy. Do you know what I mean? So you're sort of going, if I had won it, would I have been happy? Do you know what I mean? Was I striving for something that I could never reach anyway? So I had to ask myself a lot of questions about that race. And as well, going into Tennessee, the World Championships in Tennessee, I was injured for 7 months before that race. So I basically had probably a 3-month training block for that race. And I finished up on 74 hours. I was wrecked. The humidity was horrific. But to be honest, I was a lot happier with how I done, considering training, considering obviously I still had a lot of questions with why I felt so fatigued. But talking to Marcus about it, Marcus just says, I was fucking surprised you got to 74 hours. So
see, the one in Germany, which the name of it, the Race of the Champions.
Yeah.
My man, that's like a movie. Race of the Champions. You went for 89 hours. Merrin went for 90, but before that, the dropouts were at 62 and 73. That's a long time with just 2 of you going.
Yeah, and we didn't run together.
Right.
So I would have been slightly quicker than he was each loop.
So I mentioned earlier about tactics. I was going to be talking about tactics in a different race, but here we are. You can speak about your tactics. When did they come into play, and what sort of things? No, I shouldn't give away any secrets, but what sort of things would you use tactically, Keith?
Look, I'm an open book. I share my training on my Instagram and all this sort of thing. So I have no issue with people looking at how I train and trying to mimic that, because I think within Backyard Ultra, you can train as much as you want. You can train the same way, but you also have to build the same mindset that I have. Do you know what I mean? So I'd always say to people, sort of don't compare yourself to somebody else, because you don't know what they've been through to put them there. Do you know what I mean? So that's the biggest learning thing that I've sort of come across. But like, I think within Backyard Ultra, you have to look at, especially in a race like that where there's some of the top ultra runners in the world are there. You have to look at, especially in Tennessee as well, the first 48 hours there's not many people going to drop out. You know what I mean? So you have to play the long game. So the first 2 days, it's basically just finding your feet, finding your pace, finding the route, finding who to sit in with, finding who to chat to, who's not going to piss you off, and who you can have a chat to, and they're actually cool. Do you know what I mean? So, but as you get tired, you know, everybody's going to piss you off. You're going to look, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. And I'd be one of those people. I prefer to run on my own. I train on my own. But I like to run on my own. If someone's talking to me, and I'd be just like, short, yeah. I probably sound so ignorant, like, do you know what I mean? But that's just the way I am. I just like to be in my own headspace, like, do you know what I mean? But tactically, I don't really get into any tactics as such. I just sort of find my own pace. I find points on the course that I want to get to at a certain time, and I try to stay very, very consistent. With Germany, I'd say I was within, I'd say probably about 4 or 5 minutes. Every lap was the same. Within give or take 4 or 5 minutes, I was very, very consistent in Germany.
Right for lap one.
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to put a bit of context for our listeners in, Keith. Now, I know you've been speaking in kilometres.
Yeah.
John and I usually speak miles, but like 89 laps, 370 miles. 74
so
laps.
89 laps. Well, 4 days is 96 hours. So I was 7 hours off 400 miles, which would be what, about 28 miles off.
Yeah, so 372 miles for 89 yards. I think it's just important because we have spoken about backyard ultras before. We've spoken to Ultra Kazi about them, others as well. But
yeah,
it's just the magnitude of those. We're almost being a wee bit flippant at you. 89 yards, 74 yards. Just to put eye contact. Jump in your car, and that's a tank of fuel in a sort of medium-sized car. Just sorry, I interjected.
But it's also that thing Keith's saying, Stephen, about taking a week off his work. Think we've spoken, Stephen, about doing ultra marathons that you're out there for 10, 12, 15, 20 hours, right? And you say to somebody that's not a runner, they'll say, what were you up to at the weekend? I did this event and it took me 15 hours, took me 20 hours. They can't get their head around that, because on that day at the weekend, they've got up, they've washed their car, they've walked the dogs, they've been to the cinema, they went shopping, they went for a meal. All that time you've been out running. He's doing it for 3.5 days, man. Do you know what I mean? So that's context. But one of the things that Karen Nichols said, and she still does it, she's got a beautiful smile. But when she comes out to that starting for the next yard, she's got the biggest smile on her face.
Yeah.
She might not feel like that inside, but I'm pretty sure she does quite a bit. Is that something that, do you think about that? Is that part of the game, that demeanour that you have?
Yeah.
Because you might come out like an angry fucker like Rocky. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'd be very upbeat on the start line now. Do you know what I mean? When people are walking out, I'd fucking chat to them or just joke with them or whatever it is on the start line. But as I said, once the lap goes off, I go into myself then. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'd be very upbeat on the start line, regardless of the hour. I'd be fairly upbeat on it, and then it just sort of goes downhill after that.
And what about then the actual mechanics, a sort of race admin and housekeeping for that? How does that look like for you, Keith, in terms of, you know, my aim is to get back 45 minutes, 50 minutes or whatever, and then this. How does, but I want 89 yards worth of it, but again, just that yards 50.
Yeah, look, it's having someone there with you that is fucking well clued in and is able to help you. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the further you go with this, you're literally getting 5 to 8 minutes sleep an hour. And that's if you can sleep. Do you know what I mean? Because during the day, it's very busy and it's noisy and things like that. At night, you could get more sleep. So literally when I came in, I was handing my bottles and I was just basically lie down, and the further the race went on, you just pan out of sleep, get woken up after 5 minutes. And once I get woke up, it's like I just get up and I sit down, chat to the people that are there, and then just sort of grab drinks, get food in and bring a drink with me. Like, do you know what I mean? So, having the crew, I see some people go without crews, but if you want to go far, you have to have 2-3 people there swapping between them, because, you're only as good as the crew people that are there with you. And that was the same in Tennessee. So I was meant to go to Tennessee previously, but obviously because of COVID, it didn't go either. And I was in contact with Annabelle Smith. So she contacted me to see if I wanted her to crew for me. And she lives up in Michigan. And because it didn't go ahead, when I went to Tennessee last year, I contacted her. Well, we were still in contact anyway, but I contacted her and I just said to her, look, I'll give you first refusal. If you want to crew for me, I would be delighted. If not, I can try and get someone from here. And she said she would. And she came down to Nashville, and we hit it off straight away. She was absolutely incredible. And we're just best of friends now. Like, do you know what I mean? We're in contact all the time. I went over. Her mother lives in Manchester. She comes over, and I'd go over to see her for a few days. I was only over there recently with my youngest son. You build up these friendships and bonds with people, and they can last a lifetime. Like, do you know what I mean? Because they see what you put yourself through. You know what they're doing to help you out. You know what I mean? And then beyond all the running part of it, do you know what I mean? You just get to know what kind of person they are. Like.
And so that's Annabelle Smith. Who?
Yeah.
Any other crew that you'd want to give a wee nod to? You spoke about your brother.
Yeah, no, just my brother, one of my friends actually, but he's gone to Australia. I think I drove him to Australia. He was my physio as well.
Like, get me out of here.
Yeah, but look, as I said, it's just same as you're saying with Kaz. Like, I went up to see her when she was racing in Ireland there recently, and I know what it feels like to have someone come up just to give you a bit of moral support. And to see her racing was absolutely amazing. You know what I mean? I always like to see her from the other side as well, and to see what people put themselves through, and what the aim that Kaz had was incredible. Like, you know what I mean? And I was absolutely delighted for her to see her get to that point of what she wanted. Because look, she's phenomenal. Like, she's absolutely phenomenal.
She's certainly that. I asked Karen if she had a question she'd like to ask Keith.
I could nearly guarantee. I could nearly tell you what she asked.
Go for it.
What do you think?
What's the secret sauce?
Oh, well, we'll come back to that.
Is that what she asked?
No, she did, yeah. She gave me 3.
Right.
3? Because that's the way Karen rolls,
Yeah.
I'll give you 3 and you can choose. But no, but she did say, and I put that in, what is Keith Russell's secret sauce? Can Keith Russell share the secret sauce? Over to you.
Of course I can. I share it with everybody. I share it with Kaz. I came across these almond fingers. Right. So they're high in carbohydrate. So I think there's about 20 or 25 grams of carbohydrate in one almond finger. And you normally eat one of them and then a bottle of Tailwind in an hour, and that'll keep you 60, 70 grams I take in an hour, every hour. So I shared this with Kaz one day about the secret sauce, and she does be raving about them. Every time one of us is going to do a backyard ultra, we'll take a picture. It's like, I have the secret sauce with me.
Brilliant. That's dense in carbs, isn't it? For a small bar. Yeah. It's a small bar.
A small little finger. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Almond fingers, yeah.
I'm Googling them right now.
The sale of almond fingers will go through the roof.
Oh, go through the roof.
Them. I recognise them when I see them.
Look how small they are, though.
And they're so easily ate as well, because if you eat them with it's like a sponge. So if you have a cup of tea, if you drink a cup of tea with it, they just sort of melt in your mouth. Like, do you know what I mean? So they're so easy to eat. They're not these things that get stuck in your mouth and all this sort of thing. Easily ate, and great carbohydrate.
And not too expensive.
No.
So
that's why you end up with packets of them.
We often talk about golden nuggets on the Young Hearts Run Free podcast, but now we're moving into the secret sauce area,
Yeah.
which is a golden nugget of its own. Another
Absolutely.
question that Karen asked was, how did you feel when Scott and Graham set fire at your wife?
No, not my wife. Not my wife.
Sorry, to Ash.
Yeah, Ashing's jumper.
Oh,
No,
brilliant.
we went off to the shop and we came back and we were told about the mini fire that they had in the tent. But that's the second time he's after burning the tent out of 2 outings.
100%.
And we're not quite sure who's at fault or taking the blame for that. I think Scott and Graham are blaming each other. So
I can tell you who the real culprit is, but I can't disclose that.
okay, that's cool, man. That's cool. Okay. Can we speak now about Biggs or Big Dog's Backyard? It's been mentioned about the race in Tennessee because some quite phenomenal things happened there just last year, wasn't it? October last year.
Yeah, October last year, yeah.
What was, before we get to the actual ins and outs of it, what was that like in comparison to the Germany adventure, Keith?
I think because with Biggs, you know, it's an iconic race. Laz is an iconic person within ultra running. You know, Biggs is on, you can look at it on YouTube. You see the start, you see the finish, you see a bit of the trail. And I think it's only when you're there, when you get there, it's like how surreal it actually is, you know, and to meet Laz. And like Laz is he's a character, you know, he's so highly intelligent, but you know, he's so humble. He just does his own thing. He just like walks around a pair of old trousers and a shirt, like, do you know what I mean? But to be there was just, it was insane. I think, you know, when you go to set up, so you go the day before the race, you have to set up your camp, set up your tent, set up your food, sort of get all your whole camp set up, do a lap of the course as well, just to sort of get an idea of what you're facing for the next, you know, whatever, 2, 3, 4 days, whatever it is. But yeah, it's one of them iconic races where you just go, this is crazy. I like, what am I even doing here? Like, do you know what I mean? You know, that's when I think imposter syndrome starts to come in. It's like, you know, I shouldn't be here, you know. But I think like last year, I got there on the Atlas list from Germany the year before. And the hours, like the Atlas list, you would have had to do, I think it was 50 plus hours got you onto the Atlas list. And I was talking to Laz after the race, and he says to me, he says for next year, next October, because it goes every second year, next October, he reckons 70 plus hours is the benchmark to get on the Atlas list. That's how big the sport is growing. That's how much further people are going within the sport.
And why do you think people are able to go further? Is it because the people at the front, where you've been, where you're there, is it because they're going further and people are? It's like that Roger Bannister 4-minute mile, right? I'd never been done before,
mile, 100%.
and then he done it, and then the next thing you know, not everybody's doing it, but they're going and they're going and they're going, and other people are managing that. Is it about people's expectations being raised? Because last year Harvey Lewis, 108.
108 hours, yeah. Well, like I suppose it's the glass ceiling, isn't it? Like once someone breaks through that glass ceiling, the 100-hour mark was you know, the goal. When we done Germany last year, we hit 90 hours. Then the goal was, right, who's going to be the first to 100 hours?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now, like I think is there 6 or 7 lads have gone over 100 hours now. You said Harvey Lewis has 108 hours. The next goal is 120 hours, which is 5 days of running. That's the goal now. You know, like I got invited to Australia next June. It's the Dead Cow Gully. So that's in Queensland. Mm-hmm. So I have 74 hours. I still don't know if that's going to be good enough to get me into the World Championships next year in Biggs. So I'm going to Dead Cow Gully, looking to do 80 plus hours. that's the first aim. Second aim is I want to hit 100 hours. Third aim is I want to go for 5 days. I want to go for 120 hours.
You're going to meet your old physio out in Australia.
He's actually in Sydney, so he's not too far away. Like, he's only about a flight away, so he said he'd come up anyway.
Man, he'll be in Auckland by this time next year, I bet. Get me away
Sorry,
from him.
I was being a bit flippant there, right? But that mindset you're speaking about there, you've got like a C goal, B goal, A goal.
Yeah.
And is it about you breaking through your own glass ceiling?
It's about me, I think the biggest thing for me, I've been injured. I was injured, like I'm just back off crutches about 4 weeks now. So I'm getting back running. Like I ran 8K yesterday. I'm fucking delighted with myself. You know what I mean? So this time last year, I was preparing for the World Championships in Tennessee, to go as far as I could. Now I'm at 8K, so no matter what caliber run you are, we all have to start somewhere. Like my growth now for the rest of this year is just to build mileage slowly. I'm missing the Dublin City Marathon now in October, which I'm actually gutted about because it was I've ran it every year since I ran it with Alana. So it's hard to take not to do it. But I think when I look at the longer goal, it's the right decision for me to do it, to not do that race. But yeah, it's about me being patient. It's about me trusting in myself, my training. And like, as I said, I was injured for 7 months last year going to bigs. I got about 3 or 4 month training block, which it wasn't enough. It was sort of like compacted together. And I think you need an element of time. So I'm looking to start a training block in January for June. So it's 6 months. But that's not just to build distance or anything like that. That's to build a mindset. And I think once you get into a training block, once you start feeling good, your whole mindset starts to switch on to the race that you want to do. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that's what I need. I need to be able to switch on and go, right, this 6 months is dedicated to this. Everything I do within this 6 months is towards that goal. And it's easier to switch your mind into that format. Like at this point in time, I'm going, I don't know how I'm going to stay awake through one night, let alone 4 nights. Do you know what I mean? But that's where I'm at now. But come January, my mindset's going to switch into, right, I need to train like this. This is what I need to do. And this is where I'm going to build my mental strength and my mind.
Love that. I love that, because when somebody has a goal, the goal might be a year away, or it might be 18 months away, it might be 6 months away. But there's no mad rush to get there. You're where you are at any given time. That's where you are. How do you get from here to there? Because you're saying you ran 8K. When's the thing in Queensland?
June next year.
June next year. So what would we call it? 9 months away.
Yeah.
Something like that. So a lot of time, but a lot of work to do. But given the fact that you've been there before, at that distances before, and in Bigs last year, so I check this, in Bigs last year, 74 hours you went out and ran.
Yeah, 500 kilometers,
Yeah. This isn't a cheeky question, it's an honest question. Why didn't you go out and lap 75?
Because I timed out in lap 74.
Okay.
So
okay.
I always said that no matter what, I go out on the lap. And I knew coming into, so that was, we went through the night, and obviously 72, 73 was back on the day loop, which is, it's very technical. It was very, very hot. It was very humid. And I knew my energy levels were dropping like rapidly. So I don't know. I asked myself a lot of questions. I asked like Annabelle a lot of questions. I asked Marcus a lot of questions about it. Whether it was sodium, was I losing too much salt, not taking enough salt? It was, well, the humidity. I didn't know much about humidity at the time, but it's the sweat. The sweat forms on your body. And if you don't wipe it away, that's what builds up that body heat. So if you're not wiping this sweat off you, if it doesn't run, your sweat doesn't, it just nearly blocks all your pores. So it holds all the heat in, and your body, your insides basically overheat. So that's what I've learned about it. And as well with what I should have been taking to sort of to help with that as well should have been like Gatorade, but like a slushy Gatorade. So you're getting the sugar, you're also getting the coolant to cool you down. So I've only learned that in the last few months through a nutritionist that I'm working with. So I went out and laughed 74, knowing that my energy levels were on an all-time low. I was tripping over stuff. I couldn't lift my legs. I was falling into hedges, and I went to run up one of the hills, and my body just wouldn't move. And it was actually up towards Laz's house is up on the hill, and I went to run up that towards the house to come back around with the finish. Body wouldn't move, and I went walking up the hill, and I was coming back around, and you could hear the whistles going, and it's devastating. Do you know what I mean? When you just know I'm not going to make it, you know. And you know, I was actually very disappointed at the time, because when I didn't actually come back around to the finish line when the race went off. I cut across and went into my tent, and I just sat in my tent, and then the cameraman comes in with the camera, and I was like, oh jeez, someone spotted me, you see, going around the back to go into the tent. So I ended up having to go out then, you know what I mean? Just look, you know, it's devastating feeling like you haven't done what you set out to do, but at the same time, you know, I was there, I represented my country, which is always, you know, it's always a great gesture. And you know, it's, you know, all you do is you go out and do the best you can.
I never knew that, or hadn't thought about that, about sweat not wiping off.
Yeah.
It's because that then closes the pores, and then you heat up.
Overheat.
Yeah.
You overheat, yeah. But see, within, like, obviously, your country's the same as ours. Like, geez, the humidity, you won't even see it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's more rain, and so you don't see any of that. You don't feel it, like, and it's only when you start to look into it about what you should and shouldn't be doing. It's like, you know, when you ask people about it, that's, you know, you find out the information then.
And you get athletes who they are acclimatized to it, because it's, you know, that's their norm. And then, like you say, Keith, where we are, it's wind, rain, sideways, sleet, and hail. And if they came over and ran in that, then maybe they would.
That's it.
Know what
exactly. Yeah, 100%. It's what you're used to. Like, it's you know, like, we don't mind running in the wind and the rain. Like, you go out, it's lashing rain, and you say, just go out running for 10k or 20k or whatever it is. Like.
Loads of learning in there as well. You mentioned you're working with a nutritionist, and obviously you can maybe do something different. You mentioned about having the oven with Marcus. That's obviously to do with heat training. But just going back as well, there were 6 guys went 100 hours.
Yes.
You know, so that's 6 guys doing something that had never been done before. You know, so
well, it was done. Australia last year was, they set the new world record, the 2 Belgians in the World Satellite Championships were the first to go for 101 hours. And the 2 of them went for 101, the 2 of them stopped together. So effectively, there's no winner of that race, but they still broke the world record for 101 hours. Then the Australian Phil Gordon 102, and then, you know, fucking, you know yourself, it's just a snowball effect then, isn't it? Like, then the lads went 108, 107. So look, as I said, that someone goes through the glass ceiling and you have a few people that follow. I'd love to break 100 hours at some stage. That would be that'd be an achievement for myself now, to be honest.
What's happening between you're doing this 8k you mentioned just now, just back running this week?
Yeah.
Is there events that you can speak about between now and June next year? Have you got things on that you've planned? Obviously, the training's got to go as planned, but have you got events you will take part in the build-up to Queensland?
So I had a stress fracture previously, and I fell into the trap of trying to rush back too quickly, and that's basically what happened. The reoccurrence of that again. So I said I ended up on crutches. So to prevent that happening again, I'm not setting any targets. Like, the only goal I have is June next year. I'm using this year to build a base. I'm going to Lanzarote in December. I'm going to do the Lanzarote Marathon instead, because I normally do something. So Alana's birthday is on the 4th of December and her anniversary is on the 13th of December. So I normally do something in between those two dates. So Lanzarote Marathon's on the 7th of December. So I'm going to go over there and run that. That's the only thing I have now at the moment. And it's not for time. It's really just to run the distance. If I can go over there, run 42K, I'm in a good place coming into the Christmas, coming into January to start a training block. Once I can start a training block, then that's when I look into, right, I might go back and do, I think Dublin to Belfast is actually the opposite. It changes every second year. So I think it's actually Belfast to Dublin in March of next year. So I might do that as a training block or a training run. And then look, I'll have a look at a few other stuff. I tend not to do races in a training block because what happens is, you say you'll use it as a training run and you go out and run quicker or longer than you should have ran. So I don't normally do it. But again, it's good for keeping your mind active, that you're not just going, oh, here we go, another weekend at running on my own. Do you know what I mean? So you go into a race like that, you set a pace or you set a target, and you don't go any faster than that.
Fascinating. Utterly fascinating.
Tell me, Keith, in terms of the recovery from those huge efforts, those multiple days on the go, how long does it take your body to get back on the straight and narrow?
Well, so after Tennessee last year, I came home. I flew back home on the Saturday and I ran Dublin City Marathon on the Sunday. So it was after running 500 kilometers. I think I finished on the Monday. I think I finished out on the Monday or the Tuesday morning. Flew home Saturday and I ran my quickest ever Dublin Marathon. I ran 2:57 on the Sunday when I came back.
That's ridiculous.
So,
Did you text Marcus after that?
Oh, he knew.
Wait a minute. That is one fucking amazing week on your Strava.
No, don't get me wrong. The last 10K, I was absolutely hanging. I thought my hamstrings, my calves, they were like, the other way, you're just going, they're going to go. So I was doing kilometer by kilometer in the last, and then it was cramping, and it was just like, just keep going.
Wait, what was your quickest, what would be the quickest kilometer that you ran during your 500 kilometers, right? I don't know what you're moving at. What are you moving at on average when you're doing a backyard ultra? Yeah.
Well, I started the first day, I was doing loops in 42, 43 minutes. Then the second day, I was doing loops in 44, 45. And then the third day, I was doing 46, 47.
Okay. Compare that to the pace that you're running a 2:57 marathon. It's almost astonishing the range to be able to pull that. Because I'm assuming you're not doing much tempo work during your backyard training.
I would do, yeah. I would do, yeah. I do speed, tempo, long runs, yeah.
Okay.
I like to keep my marathon time now. I don't run 5K races or 10K races, but so within a training block, I done one that, so it was 3x5K with 1K recovery in between, and all the 5Ks had to be sub 20.
Okay.
So
fuck me.
Yeah. So that's sort of the training that I would do now. As the weekend mileage goes up, the speed sessions sort of drop off, and it does go into more tempo because of that reason, because of injury prevention, that sort of thing. And I think, to be honest with you, I'm probably getting a bit old now to be running. Like, I'm 41. I'm just going, like, I'm probably getting a bit old to be doing speed sessions, because if I'm doing the longer stuff, my body's not able for it doesn't have really the fast twitch fibers. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm built for endurance. I'm not built for speed. Like, do you know what I mean?
So relative, man. So relative. What a 2:57 marathon.
Yeah, well, like, I want to focus on 24 hours as well. So I ran for Ireland in 2022 in the European Championships 24-hour. So I want to get my 24-hour distance back. I haven't had a chance to get it back. Like, so I think around 246.7 kilometers in that, but I want to progress within my 24-hour distance and things like that. You know what I mean? So
I was expecting John, sorry, Keith, I was expecting, oh, do you know, a week off of doing nothing, no, I'll just go and knock out a 257 marathon.
now, when you say knock it out, it wasn't that.
I will.
Wasn't that? There was a lot of hairy moments within it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, that's like 6:45-minute mile, John. Just again for context.
I think it was 4:12 a kilometre. Yeah,
Is
but
it?
like even going up through the streets of Dublin, just talking to people that I knew, and people were just looking at me going, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Just running the marathon." Like they're going, "She's only back from doing whatever in Tennessee," you know. So it's just to see the shock on people's face to see me there running, and you know, some of the messages I got were, you know, it was brilliant. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I get great support, and you know, I'm just so grateful for it all. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I never get any negativity. I never get any bad anything like that. Like like as I said, I'm here to do the best I can. And if people like jump on that and it pushes them to be better, you know, so be it. Like it's great. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So I am appreciative of all the support that I get, and you know, I get to meet great people along the way. Like Kaz, like I think Kaz is absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? And we do be texting every week. You know, when she's training for backyard, and so am I. Like we were back and forward, and when we were doing our simulation runs and just keeping each other motivated and keeping each other going. You know what I mean? And like you're looking at going, I'm in Ireland, she's in Scotland, and we're both doing the same thing. And like at the end of the day, both our goals are the same, of like we just want to be better, and that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? So anybody that toes the start line of a backyard ultra or any race at all is only looking to better themselves, and that's it. Like, you know what I mean?
It's still new to me, the backyard game. But I've never taken part in one. But the first sort of, when it sort of came right on my radar, was when they did one up in Blair Athol, which is close to us, Keith. A few miles up the road. Stephen's wife Fiona took part in the first one I remember, and but it just went crazy. You know, I don't know if that's to do with the internet or the athletes that's involved in it, but it just went mad. What would you say to somebody who's considering, this could be somebody that's listening to this podcast, recording it, what would you say to somebody that's thinking about taking part in a backyard ultra for the first time?
I have ran I think I've ran 5 in total. They're very hard on your body. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, the furthest you get, it's very mentally draining too. But at the same time, if you have a goal that you want to run marathon distance, or you want to run 50 miles or 100 miles in 24 hours, I think it's an incredible format to be able to do that. Do you know what I mean? You know, you do it sort of, you do the same loop every hour. There's no one winning the race after lap 5, 10, 20, whatever it is. There's no one winning the race. Do you know what I mean? So everybody's there having fun, having the crack, having the chat. You can walk, you can jog, you can run. You know what I mean? So it's such a social atmosphere within the backyard ultra races. So I think, like, if anybody that wanted to do 20K or 20 miles or 50 miles, whatever, I think it's an incredible format to get into. You know, you don't have to be, you know, at the top of the field where you're 40 hours or 48 hours. You know what I mean? 12 hours, 24 hours is enough for people. And they're so happy with that, of being there and having the camaraderie with everybody there as well. I think it's unbelievable.
Very good. Good selling point. People will be going, maybe I will.
But it also, it's one of the races as well that you can line up beside some of the top ultra runners in the world, providing you go to the right race. You know what I mean? And like all these lads that are top of this game, they're all so humble. There's no airs and graces about anybody within it. Like, you know what I mean? If you ask them any questions, they will freely give you the information that you're looking for to make you better. Like, Ian, I don't know if you know Ian Keith, he's one of Ireland's greatest ultra runners. You know, he's done some incredible races. You know, I spoke to Ian when we were in Verona for the 24-hour, and like, you know, he's so humble. Like, he's done the spine, he's has records to beat the band. Like, and if you want to know anything, or if you just questions, he loves to see people break his records, because then there's other people pushing themselves. Do you know what I mean? To be the best they can be. And I'd be the same as him now. If anybody wanted to know what I do and how I do it and all this sort of thing, I don't think it's anything fucking special, by the way, because I'm a normal person. I have a job. I have a job that I do on a day-to-day basis. Running is my pastime. I do a bit of coaching as well, but running's my pastime, and I just enjoy doing what I do. And I have freely answered people's questions that message me on Instagram. People I don't even know will just ask me, "Oh, Keith, what would you do here? What would you do here?" And I have no issue giving any information at all.
You know somebody's passionate about it when they start fucking swearing about it, don't you? I love that, Keith. Honestly, but you want people to be you want people to be better. And going back, you're talking about people are saying you the Dublin Marathon. What are you doing? Coming back from Tennessee 5-6 days ago. But that's inspirational. That doing that, people will be moaning about, got a sore leg about the 10K. Look what this guy's done. I can be running for 5 days, and look at him. He's doing them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's quite inspirational. But your passion comes across when you're speaking about it, about speaking with other people. Like Ian Keith, phenomenal athlete, absolutely phenomenal athlete. Would love to talk to him at some point. But
what a man! What a man!
I want to go back to the secret sauce and the almond fingers, right? Because that's a long time. If we go back to Germany, 89 hours, nobody can eat almond fingers for 89 hours, right? What else? What else does Keith Russell have in his toolbox? What else is he eating?
There'll be a mixture of stuff now, to be honest. You know, so we tried to do like Rice Krispie squares. Like, realistically, you don't have to eat every hour. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not running fast enough to burn that amount of carbohydrate. Now, the other side of it is, when I ran in Germany, I lost 5 kilos in weight. So I was so skinny after the race, it was ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean? So we're nearly 4 days of running, you lose 5 kilos. You cannot replace the amount of calories you burn. I think I burned 50,000 calories. You can't replace that amount of calories in a race. Like, do you know what I mean? So you have to just eat little and often. And whatever you can stomach, whatever you can eat, like, especially in backyard, you can eat more solid foods because you're not running as fast. I wouldn't take gels. I drink Tailwind. I'd bring a bottle of Tailwind with me out on the course, so I'd be just supping away at it. So one scoop of that is already 30 grams of carbohydrate. Yeah. Then you have little cheese squares. Just eat them as well when you're sitting down. You eat I don't know if you have Tuck biscuits or biscuits, with a salty, exactly. So you want stuff that has salt on it as well. Then I sort of look at you want to have a sandwich, but something that you can easy to eat, like jam sandwich. Again, carbohydrate and that, sugars, glucose, all that sort of thing. And you try to eat noodles because they'll obviously go down easier as well. You know, like at one stage I think I had a burger, beef burger. Like, they were doing a barbecue outside, and Marcus was there, and he got me a beef burger. Now I couldn't eat the bun part, but I was just eating the burger itself. Pizza as well. Pizza's a great source of carbohydrate. You know, so anything you can sort of stomach, and anything that will get you through the race. And you know, you sort of gauge it that if someone's going to give you a pizza, you go, right, I'll do a quick lap here. I'll do a lap in 45 minutes. So that'll give you 15 minutes to get something decent into you that you won't be able to carry a pizza and try and eat it on the loop. Do you know what I mean? So you try to get that into you. So you try to do it nearly early evening so that you're not getting into your sleep So you try to leave your sleep a couple of hours later than to start sleeping. Then also you start taking caffeine tablets and things like that, coffee, anything then that tries to keep you awake. I was talking to a fella there the other day, right? So do you know these smelling salts? So weightlifters use smelling salts because it gives them this blast of to liven them up. And I start querying, going, right, what would smelling salts do for you in one of those races? Do you know what I mean? Say come the night and you're getting real drowsy, real sleepy. Would a smelling salt be able to keep you awake for that loop? Do you know what I mean? So it's something I'm going to look into.
Watch this space. Brilliant.
Yeah. So it could be the new secret sauce.
It totally is. And Keith, thanks for sharing that absolute smorgasbord of options that's, at the end of each yard. But is it this understanding of what works and what doesn't work and what could work that is actually part of the equation of fueling people going for longer? Because, it's a relatively new discipline, backyard ultra. I don't know.
Yeah.
The research is still, the evidence is all still getting built up. And as people are trying new things and going, whoa, wait a minute here, arm and fingers, and you'll get to 200 yards, mate. But it is
yeah.
And another question that John and I always ask around about is kit. And
yeah.
Do you know what's on your feet when you're doing your backyards?
So it just depends. So if it's on trail, I always wear Saucony regardless. Okay. I wear Saucony runners regardless, right? So I've tried Hoka, I've tried Brooks, I've tried Nike. They don't suit me. My feet get sore. So the first runners I ever wore were Saucony, and that's all I'll ever wear. If it's on trail, I'll wear the Saucony Peregrine. Yep. So I'll wear them. And if it's on road, I'll wear Saucony Ride. So I had 13s, 14s, 15s. I think go up to 17s now. So I'd wear them because they're easy on the feet as well, especially for longer distance. If I'm doing marathon, I'll wear the Pro 3s, the carbon fibers, or 24-hour, I'll wear carbon fibers. Yeah. Okay. And as well, talking to one of my friends as well, and he says, people, say in a marathon, people spend €250 or €300 for a pair of Nike Vaporflies, whatever. Then they go and buy a pair of socks for €4 or €5. And you're going, you're paying €250 or €300 for a pair of runners, and you will not pay 20 quid for a pair of socks to go into them runners. Do you know what I mean? And they can't understand why they get blisters or their feet get sore or whatever. So there's a tip. Go and buy proper socks. Spend money on socks if you're spending money on runners.
Good socks.
What socks does Keith Russell wear?
What do I have? I get the Bridgestone socks. So a friend of mine owns a shop and he has them. So I got some off him and they're really good. They're comfortable. They're warm as well. Other than that, I'd probably wear 1,000 mile socks from actually the running shop across the road. Spun Cycle, Spun Run, give me runners and socks as well. So
are they, can you say, we'll be speaking about feet quite a bit in the danger zone season. Are they socks with toes in them, or are they just normal socks?
No, I won't get socks with toes in them because it's too long to change them, especially in the backyard. You literally have 10 to 15 minutes to get stuff organized, kit organized. If you try to change your socks, them ones with the toes, I find sometimes they can feel a bit awkward. And if you don't have them in right, you could be rooting at them for 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Yep. So no, I don't wear them. Now, on the flip side of it is your toes do get blistered. They do rub together. My feet were in bits in Germany, an absolute bits. I had on one heel, it looked like my heel was coming off. I had 3 blisters and I just had to burst them and patch it all up. And there's actually one of the, I think it was, I don't know if he was Belgian or who he spoke feck all English anyway. And he came over and he would start rubbing this cream into my feet. It's mad because you're 3 days into a race and I'm looking at my feet going, I wouldn't go near them. And you have this stranger coming over, rubbing cream into them going, best of luck to you putting your hands on them. You know, but again, it's what people do to help you out within these races. Like, you know, like if you're down to the last, say 2, 3, 4, whatever, crews start to come together to give lads a dig out if they need help. If they only have one crew and that crew needs rest, people roll in and help you out. What do you need? What can I do for you? And that's the thing about ultra running. It's an amazing sport, and there's no egos in it at all.
Brilliant. God, man, I'm processing a lot of information here, Keith.
This will be a double listen for a lot of listeners. Maybe a triple listen, because there's so much information.
Not just because they can't understand me, like.
I've not had any issue understanding you at all.
That's all right.
And they've stuck with us for 11 seasons, so they'll be doing all right. They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Do you know what? I've got a dead quick question. What hallucinations? You spoke about them. What you got any hallucination stories?
Yeah, so in Germany, so I would have ran with, I don't know if you're familiar with Mori. He's a Japanese runner. So he was in Tennessee as well. So in Germany, like he's a phenomenal runner as well, the mileage he does. But in Germany, I think he dropped out at 75. He was third in Germany. So myself and Mori would always run together at the start. Now, obviously, I can't speak Japanese and his English was not great either. So there was not much conversation, but I think it was just running side by side with somebody, not much being said. We get to a halfway point and we just sort of touch hands and I go on. But we'd always meet back at the start line again. But he dropped out and it went into the night. And I remember I was walking up the hill and I was talking away and I turned to talk to the person that I was talking to and there was nobody there. And it's just, you sort of acknowledge, you know, geez, I was falling asleep there, I'm hallucinating. And you just carry on. Do you know what I mean? You just walk on up the hill, like, you know what I mean? And just keep going. It's all you can do. Like, you know, when you're falling asleep, your mind, there's even ones like your mind will always question what you're doing, where you're going within these races. So the further you go, your mind is nearly going, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? So you have to keep going, right? I'm in a race. I have to go out to this point to turn around, to come back. Like there's lads there that, you know, you've ran the same loop so many times and your mind will switch off before your body will give up, realistically. Like, do you know what I mean? And you run up to a turn and they just forget where they're going, which way they have to turn. And they just end up walking around in circles, like, because they just completely, their mind just switches off and that's it. They can't find their way out. Like, so it just goes to show, and you're just waiting for, like, you know, at some stage, if you keep doing that, is your mind going to keep coming back? I know it's down to fatigue and tiredness and things like that, but you're just going, like, at some stage, it's going to have a big effect on you. I presume later on in life or whatever. I don't know. As you say, there's not enough study done on it at this point in time till we all get a little bit older and we all go a bit crazy. Like, do you know what I mean? But, won't even mind at that stage.
Mori, what a good name, by the way.
That's a brilliant name.
Love that.
That's only for us. That's only I could not even pronounce his real name. So it's Mori on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah, that's what you
really nice fella.
Get that in the back of your shirt, eh?
Ah.
Cool. Yeah. But
yeah,
I met him a couple of times. He's great. Like,
I also asked Graham Connolly for a question to ask Keith Russell, and Graham, I'm going to quote him actually. He's come back at me and said, "Nutella biscuits, my man."
Oh yes.
Ask him about
Nutella
Nutella
never put
biscuits.
them in my nutrition plan either. Yeah.
Well, what he said is that you handed in a bag for Karen. Karen never seen them because Graham ate them. So
that's right. That's right.
That's how he rolls. So maybe Karen's just finding this out now. Apologies from Graham, Karen. Right, Stevie boy, let's go to the final two.
It is. It's the big questions. It's the season finale, the last two questions of season 11, the Danger Zone. And they're biggies, Keith. They are very, very important ones. The first one is an entry into the Young Hearts Run Free Dialect Dictionary. A word, a phrase, a term something that is familiar from where you call home. Over to you.
Oh, I'll give you one because this is what Karen wanted me to say.
Okay.
33.
Yes, brilliant.
I sent Karen a voice message. I think it was about 4 minutes long, and all she came back was with, say 33 again.
Oh,
I says, that's all you heard. Out of 4 minutes, that's all you heard.
all that inspirational stuff you just spoke about. She went right to the 33.
Yeah.
I know. You must get that every time you go through 33 laps on one of these ultra backyards that you do.
Yeah, it's see, over here we don't really recognize. It's only when we go abroad people want you to say 33 and a third, like, so I mean.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was all
Cheers,
geared up at some point to say what's 99 divided by 3, but you've just furnished us with that already. So thank you very much. Thank you. And then our final question for you, Keith, a musical one. Don't know if you listen to anything when you're running, but we've got LaBeouf. This will be the last entry into Volume 8. So what are you going to close Volume 8 with for the Young Hearts Run Free listeners, Keith?
So I listen to an array of music, right? Now, from boy bands to right through to hard fucking rap or whatever. But there's one song. So my youngest fella, he's 11, he plays rugby. And we were big rugby fans. And we would always go into his rugby games. We'd always listen to Ireland's Call.
Oh, man.
It's one of those ones, gets the hair standing on the back of your neck.
What a tune. Shoulder to shoulder.
That's it.
Come on.
Yeah.
Love that.
But I love the Scottish. The Scottish national anthem is brilliant as well. Really, really good.
You have no idea how happy I am right now. I'm absolutely loving
Look at the big cheeser on him, man.
What a way to finish a season, man. Oh,
Is that on Spotify? I'm going to check it.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I own the Spotify playlist rights here, by the way, Keith. So
now you'd have to do the Irish rugby version.
Definitely. Yeah, it was done for a World Cup, wasn't it? It was a World Cup.
It's done all the time. That's the one. That's
official Irish Rugby World Cup anthem.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Okay.
Keith Russell, what a chat this has been, man. Thank you so much for your time. And I've got to give a special thank you as well to Karen Nichol for making this happen. So thank you very much, Karen. But a very open, honest chat, a very inspiring chat, a very touching chat when you've been speaking about Alana and how this all sort of began for you. And if you don't mind, I mean this with all respect, man, you're doing her proud. Because I think she drives you forward. You said that. There's a thing in there that you'll get to the finish line. So, but thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure a number, if not all of them should be, our listeners will be inspired by listening to what you've said. And you've given freely, as you've said, with all these golden nuggets about secret sauce and socks and shoes. Honestly, I've been hanging on your every word. So I'm going to hand over to Stephen to close season 11 with you, but thank you from me, Keith. Thank you very much.
Now, Keith, we do play out at the end of the episodes with your song choice, so that'll be kicking in pretty soon. Just want to echo what John says. Thanks for making time to chat to us. I don't know, it's like I had scribbled down and I was like, oh, he's got some fire in his belly, this lad, do you know, but it's no a fire, isn't it? It's an absolute raging furnace that you've got in there that is, you know, giving you that mindset, that resilience that you spoke about and how that's been built up in you. It's phenomenal. And we're so lucky to get to speak to people like yourself, Keith, and get this sort of inside track on things. Thanks for being so open. You spoke about being humble. You're awfully humble yourself. I can't wait to go back and listen to this and look at my face in disbelief when you said to me that you're on a 2:57 Dublin Marathon like 4 days after playing the big dog's backyard ultra. Phenomenal, Keith. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to chat to you.
Look, lads, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. As you say there, Stephen, like, you know, Alana started a spark in me, and over the last number of years, I have built that into a furnace, and I have built it into a passion. And, you know, as I said, I would not be doing any of this if I never had Alana. So, you know, with things that happen in your life, you have to look at the good side. You have to try and keep pushing through. And, you know, I love talking about her, and I love explaining how I got to where I am today. And I will keep pushing on. And hopefully someday I hit the 100 hours, you know what I mean? But I just want to keep having fun with it and enjoy it too. So, look, I really appreciate the chat, and it was good out of crack now. And thanks to Karen as well for getting us in touch.